ACL Nation, what is up? Welcome to this week's episode of the ACL Throwdown. We're going to welcome Ultra President Mark Pryor to the show. He's going to talk about Ultra and everything he's had to experience, as well as what he's fighting through currently with the COVID-19 pandemic. We're also going to talk a little bit about the ACL's newest partnership with Prize Picks and what that means for the future of the sport. This is the ACL Throwdown. Yes, ACL Nation, like I said, we're going to have Ultra President and bag manufacturer Mark Pryor on the show this week. He's going to talk about his Ultra line of equipment, as well as what it's been like operating his business through this pandemic. So look forward to that conversation with Mark. But first, my hashtag Trey's Takes. We got to talk about our newest partnership with Prize Picks. For the first time in history, players are going to be able to gamble on cornhole events, in this case ACL virtual events, right on an app, right on a website with over-under lines set. We had a little bit of a taste of this a few years ago with ACL Board Kings, which was a fantasy style lineup, but now gambling on groups of games set by over-unders is going to be the next step towards sports gambling getting into the cornhole world. So how does it work? You can head to the Prize Picks website or the Prize Picks app, and what you'll see is cornhole as a section. There will be different events posted. You're going to be able to select the players within that event that you want to gamble on. Their deck around score, just like a normal ACL virtual event, will appear with their line. It'll be an over-under line, and it's simple as this. You choose whether or not you think that player will shoot over or player will shoot under that particular deck around score. You'll choose a few different players that you think you have a good feel on, you have a good set on. You'll place your wagers and you'll get paid out immediately as soon as that event is over. So Prize Picks is really the first step the ACL is taking towards getting the sports gambling industry plugged into the sport, and this is a great first step. So what do you need to do? First, you need to download the Prize Picks app. And if you already haven't, you got to look for the ACL Facebook page, Twitter, and Instagram pages for announcements of new contests with our ACL pros that you're going to be able to jump in, guess your winners, pick your winners, and hopefully have a nice little payday during this pandemic. So stay tuned for more announcements on different events. You can also go to iPlayACL.com and check out all the newest information with this Prize Picks partnership. So get your picks in. See if you can walk away with some extra cash. Until then, let's get to my conversation with Ultra President Mark Pryor, see how he's doing in this global pandemic, and see if he can give us a little bit of insight into the Ultra business. All right, ladies and gentlemen, like I said, here we are on the ACL Throwdown. We got a special guest this week from Ultra Cornhole. We got Mark Pryor. Mark, first of all, thank you for jumping in on the ACL Throwdown this week. And, man, how are you doing? Are you holding up okay? You told me you were fighting a little bit of an illness. How are we hanging up way out there in Cali?
The weather is beautiful today, so thank God for that. We've been battling rain like no other. And being that we're shut down, it's been rough. But I see some light at the end of the tunnel for sure.
Yeah, I think that's kind of what we're all hoping. So let's kind of just roll into things for those of you that aren't as familiar with Ultra, or maybe you got some, I know you got plenty of diehards that are big Ultra fans. Give me a little insight as to how Ultra kind of got started, how you got into the business of bag manufacturing.
Sure. Before I got started into all of it, I was into aerospace, and I had my degrees in mechanical engineering, and I worked with like these advanced composites doing, high-end aerospace, space products basically. And on the side, I was doing, kind of this bag toss thing. I kind of grew up around a game that was a beanbag game, and this board that we played at my grandparents' house dated back in like the 60s, so it was a really old game. But that had always stuck in my memory of playing that game with my my grandpa, and so it was definitely a special time for me. So I started making these games just to kind of do something fun. And then around 2007, I rented out a space while I still had a full-time job, and started making some boards. And we started to market under the name of Cornhole 2. But out here in California, it was a little bit hard to get the Cornhole name accepted, so to speak, because it's still a pretty new game out here. So I snagged the domain Bag Toss, and that's kind of how we started. It was, this Bag Toss was a family-friendly, game. And up until a few years ago, the game started to progress, more and more, and people started getting a lot more serious. And so we started developing these two-sided bags, similar to, what the bags were at that time, and we called them Ultra Bags. And I started developing a logo, and I started liking that so much that Ultra Cornhole became born from that. So Ultra Cornhole became this kind of elite level product, and Bag Toss was, still up there. We still have it, but that's kind of more of our family-friendly, carnival cruise, that kind of brand. So, but Ultra Cornhole has definitely exploded recently to the point where most of our focus is towards Ultra, and I can't foretell the future, but I see us doing more and more Ultra-related things in the future.
Yeah, I think that's a great word for it. Exploded. I mean, and that's kind of how it was. What I've seen, it's really taken off, especially here. It was definitely a start as a West Coast brand, obviously, with you guys being out west, and then these past 6 months to a year, what I've seen the explosion over here on the East Coast. I mean, it's everywhere now. So when you're looking and when you're you said you had a background in mechanical engineering, which is near and dear to my heart as a fellow engineer. When you're trying to develop a scope of all your different bags, all your different series, from a general perspective, what's kind of your overall philosophy when you're trying to design bags for players? I don't want to put percentage on it, but how much are you gearing towards the pros? How much are you gearing towards the average player? Are you looking for certain specialty elements? Kind of, what's just your general philosophy?
Well, I mean, there's so many different ways I can approach that question. It's, my philosophy is elite level. We want to make the best bag on the market. And people have different tastes and styles. Some people like a little bit firmer of a bag. Some people want a little bit more stick. But up until recently, things have kind of really evolved. All cornholes come out with a game changer, and that was a pretty fast bag and loose around the hole. People loved it. So, you got to kind of look at that and take it seriously. And we came out with our Vipers and Widows, and we have some other bags that honestly we've held back because the demand has been so good on those other ones that it's right now we're just kind of focusing mostly on Widows and Vipers, and we pulled back almost every other bag from the market so that we can focus all of our capacity on those new bags that people are really demanding.
Yeah, those are the two that have kind of been out there. So those are your obviously you mentioned your best sellers at the moment. And so when you came up with the Vipers and the Widows specifically, I'm assuming by your last answer you were looking for something that was really hole friendly, and that was kind of the focus of the bag. Is that correct?
Yeah, hole friendly and minimize kicking. So not everybody has a perfectly flat bag. And so when you throw this bag and it lands a little bit on edge, you're not going to get a dramatic kick, and it kind of hits and goes straight. And also, if you have a bag that you're trying to maybe either push into the hole or kind of work around it, these kind of bags with the faster edges, if so to speak, they kind of work around those, work around those bags a little bit better. So you could have your competitor's bag right in front of you, right in front of the hole. You can kind of come into it and move around it and go in the hole. Vice versa, if that's your bag, you can kind of hit your bag and have them both kind of going in the same direction, whereas before with maybe a firmer bag or maybe a stickier bag, you would hit that and they would kind of spread out rather than having it kind of go through. So I think that's what a lot of players see. I mean, I think for most people, the average player, they just like that it goes in the hole a lot. They don't really understand maybe exactly why it does, but from my perspective, I look at that a whole lot and say, well, how often will this kick off, or how pushable is this bag? So we try to look at all those factors, and that's really what these bags do. Is they they allow the bag to kind of find the hole first and foremost, and then go into it secondly.
Yeah, I think that's great insight, and I love the analytical side to stuff like that. So that speaks to my heart personally. So I love that there's some serious engineering behind it. So switching gears a little bit, we can see in your background that obviously you got some little viruses floating around back there. The hot topic of today is obviously the COVID-19 and how people are trying to survive and some try to continue to thrive during this shutdown. So you kind of briefed me a little bit before the call, and you're working on something special with some of your fabrics and some other things to keep business going. So give us a little insight into what you're doing amidst this pandemic.
Sure. So the governor of California shut us down, about 4 weeks ago or 3.5 weeks ago. And that was a shocker. We had just done a release. We had hundreds upon hundreds of orders that we were working through and getting out. And, that night, it was a Thursday, and they're like, shutting down anything that's not essential, right? So I know many of us think that cornhole is essential, but the state of California probably may have fined me if they found out that I just decided to work through it. And honestly, I don't want to put my employees at. So that is a big deal for us. So before we got shut down, we were already implementing a lot of things, like a lot of cleanliness. We created more shifts and separated out people within those shifts to try to accommodate that. But when we got shut down, it was over. So I was basically left to myself in my shop and just going through the orders as best that I could. And we're just now wrapping up the end of those this week. So we'll have that last release all done and behind us, which will be great for us, and then also for the customers, of course. We're looking forward at maybe potentially having another release here shortly, potentially a Widow, because I know that people have been wanting to get their hands on those. We've done a lot of Viper releases lately. So we're kind of coming out with another product to kind of bring our employees back, hopefully a little bit earlier. And that has to do with these face masks that we're making. And so, our plan is to maybe produce a couple of these face masks. I say a couple, but I think it'll probably end up being several thousand of them. Just that will give us a way to kind of get our employees back. So this release will probably have a face mask option for people if they want to buy that. And for every mask that we do sell, we're going to end up donating them to local police, firefighters. We have some of our players that are in the Border Patrol that we're going to have a special edition for them. So I think there's a lot of cool things that are coming out of this that we're really excited about. So we're basically taking this pretty harsh negative and found kind of a fun thing to do, and potentially maybe we'll come out on top of it.
That's incredible, and we definitely thank you for your work on that, because I think that's what makes a big difference. Our first responders, and people like that are the ones that are kind of on the front lines right now. So that's definitely appreciated from our perspective, and we're glad that you're also trying to find ways to stay safe and support the cornhole community. So we certainly appreciate that. So Mark, I appreciate your time. Ultra Cornhole, Mark Pryor, thank you so much. I wish you luck as you get through this, and I know we're going to be seeing plenty of Widows and Vipers on the boards here over the next few months once we can get back out of this quarantine state. Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mark, for a great conversation. Make sure you check out Ultra, not only their website, but Facebook as well. They got a great line of products, and they've been a big manufacturer, exclusive bag manufacturer with the ACL this season. So thank you, Mark. Remember to stay plugged into ACL Virtual. You can go to iPlayACL.com, check out the Virtual tab for a list of all the information that you need to get playing. as well as you can head to the American Cornhole League virtual events Facebook page. That's where all the events are going to be created and where all the live streams are going to happen. Stay tuned for more information on how we're going to be upping our technology in order to broadcast you some ACL virtual games with a little bit of flair to add some fun. That's all the time that I got this week for the American Cornhole League. This has been your host, Trey Ryder. We'll see you guys next week.